when you have certain basic different aircrafts or certain different battlefields or certain different battleships or whatever that may be is, it's basically out there on the field, basically out there on the battle. If they are not really prepared for ready for battle, means that they cannot pretty much basically they cannot pretty much they cannot do that. Basically, the episode 8 based on Kunai collection, it shows a very great example basically of that, and I definitely do think it really definitely does shows that really basically really a lot. And I want people to really basically understand here is that if there's basically a famous person that just basically has been out there doing battle for a really long time, it's very important. It's very important that they have to maintain their health and they have to maintain their strength, and for them to basically go out there and battle and for them to basically really basically out there. I think Fumiko basically asked basically for her. I think she kind of poked her nose in basically into the wrong position that she really basically that she really definitely shouldn't, because Yamato-san is basically pretty much one of the most famous one of the most famous person, or I would say famous ships. I guess she probably would definitely would say that. I guess I'm not really so sure. And I mean, I think I've heard of Yamato basically before, or I would say basically as basically Gundam Seed, Akira Yamato, basically of that. Basically the girl of Yamato basically for herself that she's basically is a girl basically that she never goes out and basically battle because she's not really basically allowed to, because she's not really allowed to do the things what she's really supposed to do. And one thing I think is very important, I think people really needs to know about when it comes to basically this anime basis, that when she used too much of her power, it takes too much. It takes too much of her energy for her to basically to do supplies and fuel and all this other stuff like that, and stuff like that, based for a battleship and stuff like that. If a battleship basically were to use up all their supplies and all the fuels and stuff like that, and whatever that basically has, it takes a really long time for them to basically get to give supplies back to the ship when it comes to food, ammunition, or whatever it is that they need, or medics and stuff like that. That's what's very important. Basically, when it comes in the battlefield, when it comes to basically comes to walk into the ground on battlefields, it is very important to basically have medics on the field, or basically like have MIE meals or stuff like that to basically that have for some of the soldiers to basically for them to eat. And sometimes their energy pretty much kind of basically get ignored basically in a factor of a way, but they really kind of conserve their energy to really not to focus on like if they're hungry or they need a bath or they basically just need a rest and stuff like that. And there's soldiers basically out there probably in the world probably we definitely don't know, probably don't get really much sleep because they're based on surveillance or based on what they basically really actually definitely they're doing. And what they definitely they are doing is basically is understanding a position, and it really actually is. If when you go on a base, and when you go confronting a military officer, which is basically kind of like a police officer, I guess you probably would definitely say, they're pretty much they're on duty pretty much all of the time, and they have to check to make sure citizens are basically either they can go access onto the base, or the basis that they can't go access on the base unless they have to have permission to basically go access on the base, because if they don't have pretty much those base of the access basically got permission based on the base, they cannot let them go on the base because they have to have a special ID. I definitely think I have one of those. I probably will show it to you. I think I do. I'm not so sure. Let's see here. Anyways, I thought I had it. However, I don't even have it at all. I don't have it. I don't have. I thought I did, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a pass that basically supposed to grant you entry base in the base, but they cannot let you in the base. That's if you are basically like retired in the military, or basically a person from the person basically into the family that could basically get access basically into the base. As for instance, basically my dad back then he was in the Navy. He's retired like for 23 years, even though he passed away just because of a heart attack because of smoking and basically stuff. And I think what I'm trying to say here is basically that whenever somebody's basically stationed basically into a base, it's really understandable that they're supposed to hold their position and stuff like that, and basic stuff. And sometimes they have to keep it hush hush, or basically keep it a top secret, basically in a formal manner. But I think Fubuka really doesn't really seem to really understand where that she's poking her nose in the wrong direction, where she definitely shouldn't. I definitely would understand that she's poking her nose in basically internal affairs. Excuse me, poking her nose in internal affairs that she should not be poking her nose basically into. That could get her in basically into a lot of trouble, and a really whole lot of trouble, because if she were to tell others about the information that they definitely do know, when it comes to basically becomes the top military commanders basically in chief, or basically in the military, it's a very basically is a problematic problem. Then it can't be for her, because if she were to basically give out information, then she probably would basically get into a lot of trouble, or it could lead into basically as a situation into treason as a situation, and that's really not a good thing. I think it definitely can hang you for that, or they probably could kill you basically for that, because of those different situations. I think Fubuka is definitely is a great example, because she break ranks, means she break the rules. Because if you break the ranks, you break the rules. Basically, in the military, you get severe punishment. Either that you take a toothbrush, clean the floors, or clean the bathrooms, or whatever it is that basically that you're supposed to do. But if you do something really severe, then it has to be taken into basically into military court, like JAG or something like that, or basically in that kind of area, like Navy court or something like that. I don't know, or military court. I really don't know, and stuff like that. That's something I really definitely don't know about, and stuff like that. The reason I like watching stuff that basically in the military, because it really help me to understand and learn about the different fundamentals when it comes to anime series, and the anime series, or basically a live action show, or basically a military movie, and basically and so on and so on. And sometimes it's hard for me to understand the different mixes between a live action series and a movie, and also an anime, but it's also small too. But I would definitely one person would say, as I said before back in one of my previous reviews, that I think that basically reality and fiction doesn't coalitions between each other, but they're just basically just basically different. But when it makes up a different kind of complex based on the story, it seems like it's simple to basically understand the culture of the history when it basically comes to war, and basically all that, and it really definitely does. If you take as for Strike, which is definitely more in a 1940s basic kind of an era, or 1950s basically of that, kind of really align itself into more into the World War II basic kind of an era, basically when they go into battle against the aliens, and that's basically a understanding more of a route and stuff like that, to base it up that. And I kind of definitely like that, because that's something that definitely it does sounds more not complex, basic in a way. I definitely do think it's more of something. I think it's more of something that's something I really definitely do enjoy. But I think the problematic base of the anime that has a tremendous amount of fan service. It really definitely does. Kind of inappropriate, I guess. What you probably would definitely say it really actually is. It definitely is personally one of my favorite series. But even though it definitely was personally one of my favorite series, but I definitely want people to really basically understand here is basically that basically understand by the judgmental basically when it comes to anime and the military or live action shows when it comes to military or movies what basically comes in the military or basically documentaries basically of history of basically of war. Take as for instance, Azar Lane is basically shows a very good reputation. Basically, shows the different styles of battleships, basically in the battlefield, basically in time when it comes to the USS Enterprise or USS Arizona or Alabama or whatever that maybe is or stuff like that. I think USS Enterprise. I think that's the biggest battleship. I think a carrier or battleship. I think I'm not so sure. I think it's pretty much one of the most powerful ones. I definitely think probably in the military. The Iwo Jima is basically also another one, also too. Saratoga was my dad was one of the lasting crew members of Saratoga because Saratoga was sunk down into the middle of the sea in the Gulf of Mexico, or I would say the Gulf of America, whatever you definitely really want to say. But it definitely just I do plan on doing live reactions basically and reviews based on Azor Lane because I definitely really want to go back and do those because I definitely do miss those because like I said before, I definitely do like watching anime that does have a historical basically in a way of basically historical way basically as that, and I definitely do think it's enjoyable to definitely to watch, but it's really definitely is fun. But you can learn about some of the strategics based when it comes to strategy, battles, and also history. It definitely really shows that. But yeah, definitely enjoyed it. But yeah, anyways, that's it for this review. Tell me what you guys think. You guys like this review? You guys don't like it? What you guys overall thoughts about what I said about Fuga? And what you guys overall thoughts about what I said about basically to understand basically like when it comes to supply and not really letting somebody really out on the battlefield because it's too much of a risk. And basically so on and so on and so on. Yeah, but anyways, it's unlike so I'll see you guys there. Take care. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe. Please consider subscribing. Please like one, give me a thumbs up or give me a thumbs down, and please leave a comment below. And so I love you guys. Take care. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.